Good.
Senior clerk on our way?
Yeah.
So start calling her the senior clerk.
She'll love that.
Very senior. Right, I saw your email, the elder. The elder clerk.
He says, substantial, I'm like, I know, I don't wrong, we need to do that.
We ready?
Oh, no. Are we missing people?
However, we are in the meeting, we need to convene at 6:30. We are in the meeting, we'll convene at 6:30. Waiting on our senior clerk.
It
wasn't her fault.
Okay.
Blame it on the DPW. Hi, guys.
So we have had items number 1 and 2 on the agenda already. I do have a change to the agenda under the mayor's report. I'm going to add a funding request letter. We'll discuss when we get there. Any other changes, additions, or deletions to the agenda? We are, come on in. Item number 4 on the agenda is approval of minutes from the September 9th meeting. First correction I see is the date itself.
That came from over there.
That's correct.
Turn it on.
Yeah.
So the other thing I noticed was that there's, I forget what the thing is, but it says no action taken. And then we all voted. Which is not. how
Just,
that
it's
happened.
probably
We
just.
voted on Nancy Zaylor being a representative.
Uh-huh.
We re-elected, approved, right
I
here.
wasn't here.
Excuse.
Got excused.
And you were excused.
I have to be accounted for.
That lets you just go
Don't just
around.
let me go willy-nilly.
Taking those. Okay. With corrections as mentioned, any other?
There's one typo in the MOU for the town of Ulysses regarding structuring the recreation program. Should be structuring, I think.
Anything else? There are no other corrections other than those mentioned. I will entertain a motion to adopt the meeting minutes for September the 9th as corrected. So,
Second?
any additional discussion? All in favor then, please say aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Opposed, one abstention. Okay. Item number 5 on the agenda is privilege of the floor for the comment period, but seeing no members of the public present, I will move on to item number 6, which is reports from representatives, of which we do have one.
The town of Ulysses has adopted a preliminary budget for 2020, and we will be having a public hearing on that. The next meeting could be October 22nd at 7 o'clock. The basic outlines of it was that we were looking at a tax cap of about 4%. Our assessed value went up, so that meant we could absorb more funding without exceeding the tax cap. We ended up with a reduced tax rate of 1.9 tax rate went down, but the number that most people would care about is 11, because that's what's raised by taxes. And overall, that was a 3.69% increase. For reasons I don't have all the details and ins and outs on, but the increase for residents of the village will actually be more than those outside. Because we were able to apply some of our reserves, for example, fire engine gas. We not only had some revenue, but we sort of taken some reserves to try to reduce that amount. So, that budget is on the town's website, for the town's website, on the right-hand side, there's a hot topics, the budget is into the budget here. The second thing that we're moving forward on is finally, after, I'm not quite sure if it's 4 years or 5, our zoning update. At the last meeting, we voted to send it on to the external reviews that are required by the town planning department, in our case, Department of Agriculture, in our case, and the others. And we've got a public hearing scheduled in North Carolina on November 18th at 7. But before then, we're actually holding 3 different public information meetings. Again, this is on the website. On Monday the 28th from 9 to 11, Tuesday the 29th from 12 to 2, and Wednesday the 30th from 4 to 6. Those are not so much set up as comment periods, but because the draft has been out there in slightly different forms for a while, that's an opportunity for somebody who's looking at it to say, what impact will this zoning have on my property, my interest in expanding, business or whatever. Probably the single biggest thing to say is that probably the most controversial part of the zoning would have limited the number of times the property owner in the town could subdivide their property, where it was actually a change for which there wasn't a majority on board to support that. So that biggest change, we reverted back and we have, for the most part, 2-acre zoning, and if you have 20 acres and you want to divide into 2-acre plots, you can do that. The reality is our trend has not indicated that kind of development, which is why we actually held off on that. But there are other changes, including some sign standards. We configured the way the zoning in Jacksonville, and try to clarify uses in different areas and whatnot. So anyway, there's a link on our website to is the full zoning, and it's now a marked up copy, because the intention is to, well, there's so many big and small changes scattered throughout the hundreds of pages of the zoning. We are, planning to either repeal the zoning and replace it with this final document, or amend it by using this full document. So, but if people have questions, one of the things that will be available at these public information sessions, we have sort of the key different sections of the zoning, almost like an attempt at an oversimplification, and user guide to say, okay, in the ag zone, what's the same, what's staying the same, what's different? In the hamlet zone, what's staying the same, what's different? We are in the hamlet zone. People may have noticed if you drive down 96 through Jacksonville, we have the Valero station and the nice and easy convenience store there have closed at the beginning of September. They closed. And in our proposed zoning, gas station will still be allowed, but the maximum of 4 pumps that they have now would be codified as the maximum for the gas station. So people witnesses and whatnot, but apparently they have, at one point, we expressed the interest in expanding considerably the number of pumps in that center of the pump that doesn't report it. And when we thought about what's the right size for a gas station, or for a pump gas station, would be max of the village, where they don't have it. So, I'm trying to stay in touch with the owners of that site. It sounds like there were issues and we're hoping that if there is a new owner that they would take possession and start operating the unit. It's my understanding that since our gas tanks are ground, if there isn't any operating in the unit, the DEC will be responsible for making sure that those tanks will be commissioned and be safe and all of that. But more to come on that. But that's it. We do have, we did just hire, and she started today, a new bookkeeper from the who are in the city. Has a wealth of experience and is interested in working for the county. So she started today. We're looking forward to her to hearing about the concept. If you really have an opportunity to do something online because of life passion, and to get that opportunity and the way that you position the influence being filled by Michelle Wright. And since Ann's not here, I'll just mention that her report to us a couple weeks ago, she indicated that the county budget that is now sort of under consideration for approval had added into it, after all the departments submitted their requests, individual legislators had the opportunity to ask for extra items. And last year, that's how the money for the Parks and Trail program was added. And it was not reapplied for by the department, but legislators, including Ann, period that those in the town who were quite pleased to have that resource available to the initiative partner with the Republican Power by Cigarette in Lansing, and they will include the city that the vote is excluded this year, but there will be another round of funding available through that in 2020. So that was good news for us, at least, and hopefully for you. And I don't know exactly what this would work, and I'm not authorized to make the offer, but it just seems like common sense. We have October 24th, the town has organized a safety training for our employees and members from 9 to 12. And it covers workplace violence, sexual harassment, recreation, fire, recognizing unsafe position, health, communication, and right to know. So if you haven't already done.
We had the invitation from Chris on
Oh,
Friday, yeah,
okay,
so,
okay.
I'll be sending it out
Oh,
tomorrow.
okay, great. It just seemed like,
Yeah.
and it's, I think, it's our insurance company.
It is.
That's doing the training, and so it's 3 hours, and you should get snacks, with probably 2.5 hours. So, if anybody needs it or wants it, it's available. And we don't have any room in the crowd, so you can come in, and now we have more comfortable chairs to sit. So that's it for me, unless people have questions. Maybe that's good to hear.
Yes.
So,
You can have that a little later on. Any questions for us? Thank you. Item number 7, board member reports, starting with fire, CPZR, and farmers market.
Sure. So on the fire side, nothing of particular note. I do believe I've added the September numbers in the Dropbox for those interested. I'll read them out briefly. So we had 11 calls for fire rescue in the village of Trumansburg, 18 in Ulysses, 4 in Covert, 4 in Hector, and 3 from mutual aid. For a total of 40 for the month. There's 145 hours of training, 127.92 service hours, for a total of 272 hours in little bit more. Yeah, that's pretty much it for fire. Nothing else to report that comes up there. On the CPZR side, a number of kind of interesting upcoming dates to mention. We'll be having our October meeting this Thursday. It was previously, this is a week later than typical for a number of scheduling reasons, but we'll be in this room at 6:30. The primary gist of that meeting is to prepare ourselves for a November public meeting at the fire hall. That's on November 21st at 7 p.m. And there's an agenda that we'll be looking through and lots of publicity that we'll be making sure to get out there. We'll be talking with you, Tammy, I'm sure, and we'll be making personal phone calls as well as getting things on Facebook and flyering and all sorts of things. So look forward to that. Basically, the intent of that meeting is to get people up to speed on what we've been working on and really solicit a lot of feedback as to kind of where do we go next from here. The vision statement is in draft form, and that's kind of the biggest piece for feedback. We'll also have some conversation about the various character areas, is what they're calling them, of Trumansbury, that we've kind of carved up the map a little bit in neighborhoods that feel kind of cohesive, noting that those are never hard boundaries really ever, but they have kind of their own distinctive character that we'll get feedback on. And then we're generally open for additional feedback and input. And then somewhat related, on the 22nd of this month, so that's next Tuesday, some of the members of the CPZR committee, as well as some of the other members of the planning, zoning, and this board will be meeting here with county planning and the Incremental Development Alliance to kind of rifle through our zoning code and see if they have any suggestions or ideas that we might consider further down the road when we get into the zoning aspect of the CPZR work. But that's a program that the county planning has been putting on. And this was the date that they had. So it seemed an opportunity worth taking, even if it's kind of a little ahead of the game, but information we can kind of bring in and think about.
That was November 21st, you said?
The 21st for the, yeah,
What time?
7 p.m. is the start for the public meeting. And, sorry, go ahead. The Tuesday.
Next Tuesday,
Yeah.
are you gonna be there? Or are you gonna make next Tuesday's side meeting?
It's 1 to 5, so it's unfortunately an awkward.
The only reason I
Time.
ask is I was going to be there for an hour or two, but then I need to see.
I could relieve you.
Because I believe it clear for a consortium. Yeah, I mean, it sounds interesting enough.
Yeah,
To sit in for an hour.
I think it's worth hearing.
There'd be more manageable to my schedule, probably not.
The IDA folks have a very interesting and convincing, I find, kind of perspective on how to slowly and reliably grow a community, which I think helps with finding that kind of middle road between a lot of the issues that we've been seeing come up in our community. So I'm definitely interested in their take and to see where, I think my understanding of what they'll look at is, I think we generally want small and incremental development. Where in our zoning might that be getting in our way unintentionally, perhaps? And then they might flag some of those places that we could think about more, dig into, take into consideration when we get to kind of the zoning side of things. So
which day is it?
that is the 22nd, Tuesday the 22nd, from 1 to 5 of October. Yep. And then the last part for the market, I was able to attend their board meeting this earlier in the month, maybe, I can't remember now. Yeah, earlier in the month. The market is wrapping up this month. So we've got the Halloween Spectacular tomorrow, so people can come in costume. There'll be kind of fun activities and whatnot at the market. Then I think there's 1 or maybe 2 more weeks after that. But the board in general is going to kind of move to focusing on planning for next year, kind of wrapping up loose ends from this year. I think they're due to hear back if the market manager will stay on for next year by the end of this month, beginning of next, and we'll see where that goes. If there needs to be if they need to kind of mount a hiring for that position or not, and they're kind of starting their planning and visioning for next year. So I'm going to maybe partake in pieces of that and be able to report back.
Okay. Anything else? If not, then EMS Youth and Street Tree Advisory.
Messes. For youth, MOUs later, but the other thing I wanted to bring to everyone's attention is that Youth Commission or Youth Services is having the pasta party that I mentioned last year, which will be November 1st, 4:30 to 7:30 at the Legion. Basically, a lot of the youth from the various programs come work and serve food, and there's lots of music. It's a very good time. So I recommend anyone here in particular come if you are available, and certainly watch as well. It would be really good film. What time is it? 4:30 to 7:30. Music probably starting around 6 or 6:30. More than that, but it's rotating as well. Also have Vicky is putting together obviously the numbers from summer recreation, which are sort of close to finalized now. And it does look like we'll have a deficit of
Somewhere around $10,000 probably.
a lot. Which is unfortunately not terribly surprising. All the numbers were pretty low this year, so I think on one hand it's definitely not. I feel it hurts a little bit, but it does feel like maybe a reason for optimism as far as moving down, which we'll talk about next year, but it definitely feels like good motivation for that. As far as the trees and the tree pruning goes, we are primarily at this point waiting for Guy's review of the law that I sent to everyone. The only other thing that we're working on is coming up with a recommendation for how to handle the dangerous trees, the particularly scary ones, and especially how to do that and how much it will cost in our sidewalk districts. But that will, unfortunately, wasn't ready for tonight, so the next one. Nothing.
Questions for Ben?
For those particularly scary trees, is that probably landing on us as a village to handle, or do we know
That's part
yet?
of the debate that we're having. So in the sidewalk district is fairly cut and dry, and then that's the village, that's our responsibility. That's us. We took that on when we put the sidewalks in, basically. But where it's just, everywhere else, it's a little bit wishy-washy. So to some degree, it is our job to maintain the highways and streets and village. So to the degree that trees are noticeably and obviously to a reasonable non-professional dangerous, and we are to some degree liable for any damages that they cause and therefore responsible for. There is also sort of a narrative that having taken interest in this now and spent time looking for it, that we found other trees that are also somewhat dangerous, that we are not, that maybe don't fall into that. But we do feel obligated, I think, ethically to take care of it. And how we approach that is a little bit trickier. So historically, the village has done things like offer free trees to replace trees that won't pay to take them down, or pay for some of the cost. So how exactly we approach that is a little bit Right now, my focus at least is the sidewalk district where we are. Our responsibility is concrete and, also those are the most highly traveled sidewalks, so.
Anything else?
We have a $10,000 deficit, you said in the release.
Roughly, we haven't actually gotten the final bill, and we had sort of, what's the word you use, questioned maybe the extent of the bill.
Well, why don't we first, and then we said about how much
So the school's bill seems like it's going to drastically increase this year. He said sort of, hold on, wait a minute, make sure that this is right. So we're not exactly sure how the final bill will come down. But that's really the primary question mark.
And we know how, do we have a mitigation strategy? Do we know how we're gonna stop it from going over it?
We're going to transfer the entire program.
That's one way to get rid of it, but they're not gonna take the amount overdue, I don't think, will they?
No. So I mean, our current MOU, we'll get into this in more detail in the MOU, but our current MOU lays out the way that we do. So we reconcile with the town later on, and we have a reserve, which again, we'll talk about it.
Okay,
with the
yeah,
MOU, but
I've read it, but.
right. So generally, we would decide between the town and us how we want to take care of that deficit. Generally speaking, we split it. We have some reserve money that can cover it. But in principle, our agreement is that we split whatever that is.
Anything else for Ben? DPW water and sewer.
We can start with DPW, we've been busy, obviously. They've done some painting, I'm gonna just do the whole summer since I haven't been here in a while. They've done roof, they're patching the roof at the press building, I think they've been on the roof here. They've been putting rock on the shoulders. They're working on streetlights. They changed out the streetlights. They've been doing I&I stuff. The next focus is Seneca Street in front of Mesco's going across the end. I think you're involved in some of the communication back and forth. Next will be the large fund. One of the things that came up in our discussion was the fact that we were talking about what would be paid this following year. In fact, our roads, we have done the 10-year circuit, and most of the roads are in decent enough shape that they don't need to be repaved. The problem is that if we do put pavement on it, we're raising the height of the road beyond the applicable shoulders, so that there's going to be a lump on people's driveways, there's whatever. So the appropriate action is to stone and oil rather than lay another level of asphalt. And my reaction when he said that was, oh God. And I am certain that most people in the village will feel the same way. But it is the appropriate action, and we should get up front about stoning and oiling as opposed to laying down new asphalt. It'll prevent us having to take everything down to ground and re-put in streets. So we want to make sure that we do that. Let's see, the leaf pickup is starting started October 12th. The leaf truck is in bad disrepair. I mean, it is only used for picking up leaves. It is, they are actually using decommissioned stop signs and things behind the bed of the truck, so that there's something to stop the trees that they pick up, and the leaves that they pick up just falling right through the truck. So one of the things that we discussed was to make sure that for budget this year, we're not actually looking for a truck, but we're looking for a leaf machine that will fit into one of our other trucks so that we can continue to provide the service of leaf, or if that's a leaf pickup, or if that becomes too much of an issue, you may have to abandon leaf pickup in the village. You need to do some kind of analysis to figure out, is this really worth our effort and worth the money that we would be putting into it?
Would there still be bag pickup, just not the loose leaf?
I'm assuming we would still be there.
Okay.
So that requires an entirely new machine. And it also requires a particular size bed for that machine. He was going to go through and do some research on the appropriate equipment that could look to replace it. Let's see, there's also the barn corners of the foundation at the office for DPW needs to be worked, and they're gonna start working on that. They did water samples. The well cleaning from Moody's did not take place yet, but is being scheduled. So that's pretty much DPW. Water has been in good shape. I have been in touch with the CAR's attorney who has asked us to make sure that we have enough, has not asked us for an increase in the gallons per minute that cars would use given the new construction that they're planning. They just want to make sure that we can provide what's in our original 1986 agreement. They use less than half of that today and don't expect it to grow beyond that with the new addition and the new people, and aren't asking for a new agreement. They just want us to ensure that what the existing agreement says we can accommodate. Still to be investigated, but I'm certain that that's probably fine because Hoffmeyer's is what it used to be right there. So I
Thank you for mentioning that. I forgot to say it, but the quota on that is that their proposed expansion to add 25 beds to this agreement, by our town board and planning board, can't move forward until they provide the assurance that the water will be there for that. So that we said that you had asked, and we said they would contact you when you do your determination.
So they're not asking us for an increase whatsoever. They're saying, can you provide us what currently exists in our contract?
Right.
So at that point, I can give them that answer, whether or not they're planning on, whether or not that's sufficient to meet their building needs is your investigation.
Before you provide that though, wasn't there either a stipulation in our agreement with the town or with the town's agreement with the cars about the functional structure of that water district? Was there any type of I seem to remember there was something to do with taking over ownership of some of the other pieces of infrastructure in that area.
There is that district does need to be revisited, but I didn't see that as part of the CARS process. I saw the conversation around CARS being, do we have enough to provide them if they grow? Because they hadn't told us how much more they wanted. By saying that they don't want any more than they've already existed, CARS is out of the conversation. We still need a water district that covers the Indian Fort Waterburg area that was supposed to be covered however long ago.
Wasn't that supposed to have been covered during CARS's last renovation when they got this water?
It was supposed to be covered when when Water District 5 went in. And they never did a Water District 5. And that was, I'm fairly certain that was the circumstance.
Yeah, the town is in the middle of updating the town and the village have an agreement.
Right.
And then the town has a separate agreement with cars, which is the one that explains that they're responsible for repairs to water lines and stuff like that. And when we review them, we would bill it all back to them. That contract between the town and cars is the one that somehow I'm able to find the original of. It's being updated and it was going back and forth between our town attorney and theirs to mostly just restate the existing terms and conditions that the drafts that I've seen don't make reference to anything bigger because I was between town and cars. So I'm not asking everybody to town and village.
I have a copy of the I think it was 1986 contract, so you were not copied on that? I will get that to you. Okay, so that's, let's see, the sewer, I approved the go-ahead for the fiber line and asked them to move forward with that, as well as, need to revisit the sewer law, and that, which is, needs a substantial rewrite. And yes, I agree with MRB. I think that's in new business.
Yeah.
Yeah. The proposal for them to rewrite the sewer law. Okay, that's it.
Anything for that?
So is it safe to assume we should suggest people get their leaves out early before any kind of like, weather is?
We do October 15th through November, whatever, and it's based on weather. I mean, and once it snows,
Right.
It's drop.
I would assume that most people,
Come on, you can go around the village and shake the trees.
I would assume most people know when the rain.
Okay.
Check with Ben first, which tree is not to shake too hard.
That's a great idea.
You can climb mine and knock it
There
all
was,
out.
some frustration last year but we had early snows.
There is very little, and when it gets heavy and wet and ices and snows on it, it can't be picked up. It's just, you can't, the machine won't pick it
It
up.
just sounds like the state of our machine requires pristine conditions for it to operate.
Even if it was a new machine, if there's ice and snow in the piles of leaves, the machine's not gonna pick it up. It all depends on the weather.
All right, police and Trumansburg Chamber.
So please first. So in September, 163 calls for service. We also responded to 4 calls outside the village of Ulysses, and we assisted the New York State Police with a criminal investigation, a physical dispute, a motor vehicle crash, and 1 animal problem, which was a rabid raccoon. So remember, they may look cute, so be careful about the raccoons. All animals for that matter. So during September, we also had members of the police department working on a community-based project. As some of you may have seen or attended, we had our first responders open house, which was really the hard work and creation of Officer Covert. And Officer Covert right now has been working with Trumansburg high school teacher, Neil Durashi, apologize. Reminds me of my old play-by-play days. Get a deep roster name handed to you. Pronounce it correctly on the air a lot. Officers contribute to a school-based leadership project where students and police officers are working together on anti-bullying and anti-drug campaigns, as well as volunteering within the you to the members of our police department that continue to, I would say, make good on the promise of more community involvement. And I mentioned the first responder open house. Unfortunately, I got sent out of town, so I could not be there, but I know when he did go, it was a good time despite the awful weather.
Oh, it was a great time. I should have probably mentioned that in the fire update too. We went, had a great time. They moved most of the stuff into the bays and pulled the trucks in. Lots of flashing lights, lots of sirens.
Seemed to be pretty, really well.
Yeah.
So we will try to keep that going and maybe move into July. Like I said.
It'll be too hot.
Regarding Trumansburg Area Chamber of Commerce, Winter Festival officially booked for December 7th, 4 to 7 p.m. And once again, you can enjoy food and beverages, handmade goods, live entertainment, and community merriment. Lots of merriment at Winter Fest this year. And we'll also feature many of our favorite performances, including Hilby and magician Mike Stanley. Fall Creek Brass Band and Mrs. Claus will arrive, along with a special appearance by Buddy the Elephant this year, which I'm very excited to see what that looks like.
You haven't seen your costume
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
I have been known to dress as Will Ferrell characters, not that one yet, but maybe that's, I can cross that off the bucket list. We'll also have holiday themed sculpture created by Trumansburg High School AP Studio Art class. So should be good. We'll have free hot soup as usual from Rotary, which is made possible by donations from Sweetland Farm and Full Plate Farm Collective. Got to give the sponsors in there. Got to pay the bills. And as part of our last Trumansburg Chamber of Commerce meeting, I did use that opportunity to talk to Kimberly Bell about possibly bringing the school district into our LED project. That's something that was recommended at one of the more recent meetings, with other local agencies and the school districts about getting in on cost savings. Obviously, more people that work the better. So she seemed very interested in that. But continue those discussions. That was good news to, because I did receive some correspondence from a neighbor, a different dark letter emailed me about school districts and lighting. So that was, he was very happy to hear about that potential collaboration. I think that's it for me.
Okay.
Is that in the bed, restaurant?
Oh, I should also mention that we are planning on presenting the Peretti Award at the TCNS is having a birthday party at Garrett's on October 27th. The plan is to present their award at that dinner. More people there now. So it should really add to
Really?
shuffleboard, Peretti Award.
No, it's really good. The little small one, just like the Ithaca Beer Works is, or Ithaca Brewery.
It's by far the best bar sport.
Yeah.
Other than axe throwing?
Well, I haven't done that.
Strawberry.
All that in.
Yes.
Yes.
There must be an
So,
ordinance.
would you rather be in a bar where they open carry
I highly
over
recommend.
one
I
that
know
has
Buffalo has
axe
an
throwing?
axe-throwing bar. Maybe that's what we're missing here.
They have one in Boston too.
We could combine that with our gear
Several.
management program. And this will really understand. And now we're off topic.
And there we go.
Anything for Keith? Treasurer.
I did a lot. As you can see,
We are all caught up with our bank statements through September. Everybody's gotten their stuff, farmer's market, summer rack, so I feel good about that. I am on vacation for 2 weeks. I will be back like the 31st, and the 4th starts our audit. So the three of us will be involved with that for about a week. I met with Terry Carroll, who came and showed me how to do that report.
Great.
I have not done it yet, but I'm trying to.
It's fine.
So as soon as I get back,
Awesome.
the audit's over, and
Yeah.
it's November and December, so
Great.
What's the report?
it's the NYSERDA report that we have, it's part of our contract, right?
Yeah, so as part of the certification for the clean energy communities, and this predates Keith and I joining the board, there was a resolution to say that we would annually report on our energy use for the village. And so that's getting around to actually living
No
up to that.
space heat under your desk.
So,
Wrong. How's it go?
so the plan is, I'm going to go back to June 1st of 18.
Okay,
And I'm gonna do that whole year, and then I'll do it this year. If you guys wanna go back another year, it's not a big deal. It's pretty simple.
good, I was hoping so.
Yeah, it's really not that bad, no. The only other thing that I believe that I have is, our yearly contract with Municipal Solutions about them handling our financial services, our bonds, our payments, stuff like that, is up. So I would ask that the board approve Gordon signing it.
Can we,
So moved.
motion?
Second. So that one says 2-year contract, doesn't it? I thought it was yearly, and then I started reading.
Oh, is it? Yes. I'm sorry.
I thought it was yearly.
Just goes so fast, those years, they just fly by.
You are not kidding.
Rate increases?
She is.
Don't take Mary away.
Now I want to meet Mary. What's her secret?
She can dumb stuff down so I can understand it.
That's all of us.
We have a motion and a second to authorize me to sign the 2-year contract renewal with Municipal Solutions to act as our outside financial services. Act as our outside financial service advisor in addition to discussion. Hearing none, then all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention.
And local financial advisor.
This is a specific, it's basically, so there's two pieces of this. There's they have a title. So that's, they call themselves municipal financial advisors, but there's another title. You need them, and then you need bond counsel. You have municipality borrowers. Well, a bond counsel comes out of New York.
Or,
Like the advisor does.
It's a very,
Like the vacuum.
that's like.
very specialized market.
And if anybody needs, if absolutely they will meet, probably the best way is through Facebook Messenger. And you can do it in New York, and be able to view.
That's it.
I just had 6 hours.
Where are you going?
I'm going to run.
Wow.
My daughter's,
It was in New York.
yeah.
Well, that's even more
I
impressive.
hear they're very different.
Going to Italy? I know. Wow, now
I know.
things are much more clear.
Yeah, for 2 weeks.
it's New York, it's
I have,
not nearly as.
Roman.
I have a question on the monthly report, that it isn't part of, it would be part of approving the bills. On the monthly report, the cash checking account, the water fund, shows that it's negative. How do we offset that? And it can't be negative for very long. I mean,
And I knew that would come up. It's negative because there's a check for the parks, I'm sorry, that we're working on.
the 40,000, right?
But unfortunately, the water account, we've been borrowing money from, and I've had ordinance approval to do that with, through the general fund, I've been borrowing money from the general fund, which will be paid back by the end of the year. And the reason why that is we had two huge bond payments, one for 80,000 and
Right.
one for like 75,000 in October.
Oh, they were both right at the beginning.
And we bill
Yeah.
out November.
So I generally figure it out after once Kim does billing in November, I'll figure out, we have, 7 months left in the budget, and I'll just figure out how much we need to transfer every month.
All right. Thank you.
Okay? Yep.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I don't want my checking account to look like that.
No, I know.
Okay, anything else for, clerk? The senior clerk.
Better than the old lady, I suppose. So for the month of, I guess, September and October, because I wasn't here in September, I have finished, completed, and passed off to Gordon, a new resident brochure that I've put together. And he's going to be putting together a welcome to the village letter to go in it. It's something that I used to do that we kind of got away from, and we get this report almost weekly from the assessment department telling us what properties have transferred. And then I would just send people a packet of information, and it got so that we were so busy, it wasn't a priority. Now that we have Morgan, I've moved that back to the priority shelf. I think it helps people settle in quicker when they know what to expect and where to find things like garbage tags and recycle stickers and things that are kind of silly, but at the same time take people time to acclimate to. So I'm hoping.
I'm sorry, did it include that they could go pay their water bill online?
I think there is a section in there. Yeah,
I saw that we only had 6 cents of revenue in that line. and
nobody's using it.
That's, I'd
Oh,
like
wait,
to
no,
get
no,
it
no.
out there.
The reason there's no revenue is because we have to transfer that.
Okay,
It'll never be any more than it is right now.
6 cents?
There's I think there's 99 here.
I saw 6 cents in there. I was like, well, nobody's using that account.
No, it's just because we transferred the money into water.
Okay,
Yeah, no, it's just an in and out account.
all right, thank you. I just want to make sure that that gets into the communication so that people know that it's out there.
Absolutely, yep. So you guys kind of covered open house. I attended open house on Saturday morning. I estimated that I probably handed out things out to somewhere around 100 kids. So it was a good turnout. I think next year we need to bump up the publicity, and we can talk about that. Mackenzie and I, Officer Colbert and I have talked about that, and we're going to talk later this week and start making a list of things that we would like to do or change or tweak about. So in September, Vicki and Morgan and I spent 4 days in Saratoga at Morgan's first NICOM Fall Training Conference. I think it went well. I know I always learn something, and it was nice for, I think, Morgan to have a few months here in before she actually attended the conference, so it didn't all sound like Greek. But it went well. Last week, 2 weeks ago, I submitted the highway commit to New York State DOT for Winterfest. So they have everything. I talked to Jeremy on Friday in Syracuse, and they have everything that they need. So I'm expecting that permit to be issued any time now. Chief Nelson and I together have been trying to come up with a few things that we could do as a village for the month of October, considering that it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month as well as Breast Cancer Month and a few other big ones. If you'll notice, Village Hall has purple lights on the outside. That's what those are for. And also on the 24th of October, which is National Domestic Violence Awareness Day, I'm encouraging all the village staff to wear purple. So I'm anticipating that we'll have some Facebook pages and some things, and then maybe next year move forward to do something a little more as a village. Because I think that that's something that touches everybody's lives at some point or another. October 24th.
The purple lights, in recognition of that,
Yes.
with Mr. Banks.
And let's see, other than that, I've been scheduling EMS, working with EMS to keep the ambulance and staff in the ambulance going, which is all good. And last but not least, it's getting to be that time in November. I'll ask all of you to sign a resolution re-levying the unpaid village taxes to the county. And I'm happy to report that at this point, we're just below $30,000. It's really good. It's about average for where we are. But yeah, so that's where we are, and I'll have that complete report for you in November. I think that's it.
Okay, anything from Tammy? Under my report, there's two items. One is due to growing time constraints and unfortunate scheduling times of their meetings. Keith has asked that I find someone else on this board lucky enough to attend TCOG meetings. So unless you, Ben, or you, Deb, are going to arm wrestle us for the honor, Ben and I have agreed to split the duties as best we can, making no promises in terms of our attendance. I know neither of us can make the meeting this month. November and December can combine into one meeting, and I think I can make it. And we'll see how 2020 goes.
What is the normal timing of this?
Thursday afternoons at 3.
I had made pleas that consider, video conferencing for a lot of people on that committee that have good jobs. There's also a lot of people that don't. And, it is try to do that.
You're still dealing with tech folks.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, only the happily retired or the highly self-employed can kind of do it with consistency. We'll see how it goes. The second item is in the Dropbox. There is a letter I did. So about a year ago, Barbara Lipton's office had reached out to the village and made us aware that there was some funding available for nondescript purpose. So if we had infrastructure type purposes that we could use a dollar figure, and it was somewhat unclear what the amount was, but it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 to 125,000. We didn't have anything on tap at the time that would have been covered by something like that. I have had several correspondences as well as meetings with residents about our ongoing drainage issues. And as we've discussed in the past, usually tone, I don't mean to belittle this in any way, but the tone of the conversation generally falls along the lines of that is wrong like this. I bought a house, I knew there was drainage issues, but I didn't realize it was this bad. The village needs to do something about it. I have become motivated to look into outside funding streams as part of a larger, more comprehensive stormwater management plan for the village. So I asked Keith to reach back out to Assemblywoman Lipton's office to see if there might still be some money available. And the answer, fortunately, was yes, probably if we submit some type of a letter of request. So Keith has drafted this letter. There are a couple of tweaks that I would like to make particularly around the notion of this being a first step in a more comprehensive management plan, not just we're asking for money because there's something we haven't done that we need to do. There are a couple of areas of the village that I have in mind as being most acutely in need of something done sooner rather than later. Seneca Road being one, the Larchmont area being another, Seneca Street being another area. So if we're able to get some of this money, I think I've had Dusty start to kind of tabulate what it might cost. Then perhaps this money can go towards taking care of some of the more acute needs in the short term. But I want this to be a first step in something larger, which I'll include in the verbiage of this. But what I'd like is for the board to approve the sending of this. It's a request for funding, so it requires board approval. Sending this request for funding to Assemblywoman Lifton's office as edited in the next 24 to 48 hours, with everyone seeing a final copy of the edit before we sign it. And then, if everyone's available for the rest of the week, unless anyone else is going to Italy, then we'll pass around a hard copy for everyone to sign and send it off.
So I read it, I thought we were going, and I have no objection to it, but I thought that we were going after, firehouse money. We're gonna try and use that for that.
We're going after all kinds of money from different sources.
Right. I
This,
thought this was one of those sources.
that was an idea. I think for the dollar amount that we're talking about, this could go a long way towards some of the short-term drainage needs. Some of the sites that we're talking about, my estimate, and Dusty seems to agree, is we're talking about $10,000 to $20,000 per location.
Absolutely.
So that's a lot of money for the DPW budget to absorb, but this would cover a lot of it. It might even, if we get all of it, part of the problem with the retaining wall at Footbridge is a culvert that's broken. So that would kind of fall into the same thing. Fire and EMS, we're talking millions, not hundreds of thousands. So I think this would be a better use of the money when you look at 100 to 125 in the context of facilities. You're looking at the engineering side.
I absolutely agree with that. And then it's just like, we need barely. Unfortunately, you still need to find all the other ones.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So and thank you to Keith for doing this, and thank you to the Assemblywoman's office for being willing to at least entertain the letter. If it yields what I hope it does, then I think we can, it's almost, it's unlikely that anything will be done until the spring, but that's when we can create noticeable where things need to be done.
So I thought the letter was well written, and the only thing I'd ask is you use my whole name in that.
It's a rough draft.
Okay.
Any other comments or edits on the letter itself? Anything you want to see added?
I was a little, I don't know, I had a reaction of some kind to the Tompkins County. I don't remember it, but something about the Tompkins County vision or something.
Housing and sustainability goals of Tompkins County.
And then I thought about it more, and it seems like if you're writing a county legislature, you should probably point that out. Yeah, my thought there was to show that this is also potentially part of a larger strategy of her district in general. Just trying to think of ways to make it more effectively use of money. Small trade for the product. It is very much, very true for focus, but use of innovation to help us work into us. Some of the potential ideas.
Yeah, and I think that's part of what sort of education wanted to possibly reflect a little bit, but We can go back and forth with drafts. As long as we can come to an agreement and that's there.
Might also be worth pointing out this stormwater is environmental. But I think it's good.
Yeah, that's right.
Then I would entertain a motion to approve the issuance of this funding request letter
So moved.
pending edits.
Second.
Additional discussion.
Is it fair to add something about this helping sewage issues in terms of volume that we always talk about? I don't know, I think I'm asking.
No, that's,
Yeah,
that's good. No. Oh, we could make it.
That would be nice,
But I think.
but I don't, I mean,
Well, it kind
what?
of goes hand in hand, I mean, it goes hand in hand with, comprehensive stormwater management, what it does to the environment, what it does to our facilities, so I can put all of that in one, not overly wordy sentence.
Mm.
Maybe that's. So the motion by the second, then all in favor of approving this letter as to be amended, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Item number 8, I mentioned I have had, and the board has had a little bit, but I have had a fair bit of correspondence, both electronically and by hard copy mail, regarding issues like drainage and stormwater, which I have responded to on an individual basis. We'll take a pause here and go back to reports from representatives, because I see that Ann has joined us, and see what you may like to share with us.
It's very cool, but I don't know we did have our legislative meeting very early tonight, so let's see, we're winding down a little bit on budgeting for the next year for the plans, so I'll give you a little bit of a summary of that. We've added several different positions in various departments. For instance, one soil and water resource engineer, and part of that, we're looking at helping that, or having that person help deal with watershed issues. And so if you're talking about comprehensive plans or plans for water quality management, you might want to see if they can that person can help you out. Okay? And because I know there are definitely residents on notice, if they're wanting someone just to come and look at their site, like their property, you can call our soil and water, and they will come out and do a evaluation, water management, water management. So we can figure that out. And let's see, we have to add. The DA's office, because there's criminal justice reform coming down, that information out quicker, that's involved in various cases. The airport additions are close to be done, so we'll let you know if government wants to come back out. I need to look at it. Because we had to push it through to take advantage of the 14 million that they gave us, we're going to have to bond for some of it. For some of it, but we're hoping that the airport fees, the passenger facility fees, are going to be able to take that cost back. So we're trying to, as much as we can, have that to the taxpayers. Okay. We're still looking at a public safety building in the budget. So the budget right now is tentative still. I was able to get back in there. The Parks grant for 1 more year, so I believe the terms for farmers market is into this grant. And Jacksonville Park, inside of the city, to get some So they will get that in for one more year, but really the talk, when I was hearing from people is that they don't want to, the county doesn't want to have that every year. So it's probably next year is going to be the last year. So I would apply for it, and I'll apply for it again. They're going to give priority this time, renovation road and application fee is going to be priority given to parks that didn't apply or didn't receive funding last year. And also the city of Ithaca is included, so they can parks, so they might be applying for it. And again, it's up to $5,000. And the planning department should be in touch with you, or I'll keep you updated on when that application is available. And we're still going to do the affordable housing grants, and there's something you guys took advantage of that last time, but if there's something we can do for planning with this trailers, or you, yes, we got the information for maybe next.
Yeah, I talked with David a bit about where we might be able to use that, and we had a hard time figuring that out, primarily just where we are in the cycle of the comp plan review, and how that's kind of the focus. That's where our focus is, kind of in relation to that, at least in my mind. So, but I'll give it another round of thought. I would love to figure out a way in place to make use of that. We're just having trouble figuring it out.
Okay. And this is the side, I don't have much yet, but the people are coming, so I'll see what time to be flying the wall, right? It is going to be in this room.
That's right.
So I don't see the check. Do you know a lot of people coming for that?
So far,
Ready to sign up?
I don't think we'll run out of space. It's not going to be that that big of a list, but so far we do have a pretty good showing. We were talking earlier, I think Rodney and Keith will both try and be here for different parts of it. I'll be here. We have, let's see, 2 folks from our ZBA, at least 1 person from the planning board, and at least 1 person from the comprehensive plan and zoning review committee as well. So, and then a number of maybes as well.
Is it time structured?
I haven't seen much, and I could ask for kind of an agenda. My impression is it's primarily kind of a deep dive into 1 or 2 of our zoning areas. A 4-hour chunk is a fairly large chunk for that. I'm not sure exactly what to expect.
Right. I was told it was a stress test on people are busy.
Yeah, we've so the IDA folks were here a couple months ago, and they dabbled on that, and I think yeah, they find just kind of interesting places where the zoning isn't matching what you're trying to get out of it, basically, and kind of gives ideas of how to think about that differently. So we'll see.
Okay. So getting back to the budget, so overall numbers that we have right now is we have a tax levy increase of 2.75%, with the average tax rate at 6.31 cents, or $6.31 per thousand assessed value, which would actually be a decrease in 1.59%. But since the assessed value keeps going up on people's houses, overall, after everybody gets rotated through the assessment, people would see a net increase of $12.69 on a median price home that's assessed for $190,000 in 2020. And we're going to have a public hearing on our tentative budget on Tuesday, October 29th at 7 o'clock. And of course, if you're somebody or the legislature, any comments, and that's right on our front page, there's a link to the budget if you want to see what that looks like. And we're actually doing about a 5-year comprehensive plan for the whole county right now. With one of the things we added was more about water management. whether it's with the lake or flooding. And also some more other things we call it changes, like trying to handle things. That's one of the things that just got public hearing coming up. Also, a possible tax levy rate for residences. And I don't know if you've heard about this yet, but the proposal is for people that make a substantial improvement to their home, it increases the value of the home. So if you do weatherization, it doesn't increase the value. But if you do something that would make it an addition, it has to be something attached to your house. So it would be a kitchen or something like that, or a porch. So improvements up to 80,000, we're proposing that not get taxed right away, but the tax on that gets phased in, so over a period of 8 years. So to try and get people to wait, because it's a lot of people we've seen around the county have a hard time maintaining or adding to their home because a lot of people say, well, it increases my value of my house, so I don't want to do that. Or they're afraid to do that. So we're trying to give them a little bit of a break. And so I would take the feedback that you have tonight on it or after time.
Because I would think that if you're not a subject, you're subsidizing people who can afford to improve their homes. As opposed to people who can't afford to. I would use it if you don't know because it sounds. Yes. I mean, I know other communities have these tax breaks for people who do like historic preservation. Tax breaks for that.
They have it already in the practice, in the town of Friday. They have to let anybody take advantage of that. Part of the theory of it is that it's in some ways for someone who can afford to put an easily afford to put an addition of 80,000 or more into their house, that the change in the taxes might be not be worth filling out forms, but for somebody that money does matter to, they might be more inclined to go to fill out that paperwork and assess it part of the calculation. So for instance, if you improved your house and the value of the house went up, the assessment department would send you a notice that you're eligible to apply for this. So it's kind of
Okay,
Okay.
we will stay tuned how that turns out.
And that, I don't know, so the public hearing on that is November 7th at 5:30. And early voting starts October 26th, and then it runs through election day. And it's various times of the day. There's 2 different locations, a crash fire rescue building on by the airport and the town hall. And you can go to either of those locations no matter where you usually go on election day. So before actual election day, you can notify anybody who can go to either of those locations. And there's staggered times, some is early 7 in the morning. So that's on the other election site. And the paper bag, for plastic, the plastic bag ban is going to go into effect in on March 1st. And we're looking at, we have the option, the county has the option whether we want to impose a fee on paper bags. And it's looking like we're leaning towards imposing the 5 cents, do up to 5 cents. So we're leaning towards right now imposing that to discourage people just to go to them use paper bags for free. And then the 5 cents, we're doing, I think, New York State keeps, 2 or 3 New York State keeps. And then the other revenue we would use for this, getting people to use paper bags and education, Usually use big grass. And, sales tax reports. The latest one is August that I have. And for the county, it was up 8.43%. Year to date, we're up 5.2% from last year. And municipalities are up in August 6.02% from last August. And year to date, municipalities are up 7.17% from last year. That's it.
Any questions for?
So the Tompkins County Soil and Water Person is available to any resident in the county if they have stormwater issues on their property?
Right, that's been, yeah, I know I mentioned that.
That's well, I appreciate that because it gives us some place to point somebody to.
Yeah, I'm gonna be able to mention the kind of places. But yeah, so that's, and especially with another engineer being hired, they have more time to do that.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. Item number 9 is old business. In the Dropbox, we have a recreation MOU with the town of Ulysses. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, we approved last month, my signing, whatever.
We did.
Final
Yeah, we did.
results. So this is more just for the board's review. We're at the where does the go portion of the edits. So it should be.
So I mean, the one thing that is worth pointing out, and again, we already approved this, so I mean, unless there's drastic objections or anything there, but as I mentioned in this, we pointed out, we are, part of what this MOU covers is zeroing out the reserve fund that would normally cover the deficit. And that choice was a choice, and it was made because the town is coming up with their budget now, so we wanted to have this cemented. And we did it with kind of the idea that we would probably have a deficit in some of that this year. Maybe not thinking it was as big as it turned out to be. But so in practice, what that will mean is that we'll still divide the deficit, we'll still do it as we would as if our reserve fund was at zero. So it doesn't actually change anything, but it feels substantially different. The other thing I wanted to point out, just because I'm not sure how clear I was in our last meeting, or actually rather, I wasn't clear at all because I didn't have these numbers. So I thought I would just share the actual numbers, and these are in the MOU. But just to say them out loud and make sure they're clear. So the total increase to the village for this program for next year would be $12,999. Of that, $5,813 is coming from that recreation reserve, which is, again, basically split between the town and us, so that's not really our money that we're giving to them. Although technically, it is our money that we're giving to them, but not really. It's a little bit. 7,186 would be coming from the levy. Of that, 2,373 would be a one-time payment, basically just to offset the costs associated with the transfer. And then 4,813 would be the increase to our usual contributions. Not sure if that muddied the water or what, but thoughts? Is that clear or less clear? I think I said everything else as far as the bigger picture of value added that's associated with this one. So I won't go into that more, but.
Yeah, the only other thing that I would add is Jason Molino, the county administrator, reached out to us after reading about this in the Free Press and was asking questions about whether or not this was a shared service of some type that could be added to the county's shared service plan that it has to submit to Albany. There was some discussion about is it a new shared service because it's a pre-existing program? I made the argument that it is a pre-existing program. However, one could make the argument that if the town was to stand up a recreation program and hire a recreation director on its own, that the cost would have been much, much higher. And that by combining these other ideas and handing it off to the town, we'd actually save money. And he agreed. So we came up with some numbers that he's going to feed into the county's shared service plan. The reason why I mentioned it is if Albany goes for it and says that yes, that's a viable savings of dollars, and we get that money from Albany. So there could be an offset. The town and village would receive potentially some offsetting funds if and when. So keep that in mind. Anything else on
That's all I have.
the next item under old business is moving to revisit the request from Habitat for Humanity, which came to our meeting, was that back in August, July or August?
August. I think August.
They are requesting that the village follow in the footsteps of the town and opt into a very specific section of real property tax law, which allows for certain types of housing trusts, of which Habitat for Humanity would qualify, to be exempted from the normal methodology of assessment. So this is not a tax abatement per se, it is not a zeroing of a tax burden. What it is if Habitat owns, and there's stipulations, they have to own the land underneath the house, if the owner owns the house on top of the land, kind of thing. For those properties, of which there are only 2 in the village. If we adopt this law, then Habitat would be able to have Tompkins County assessment assess those properties on the sale price, which of course Habitat is selling the house to the owner at a reduced rate. Have that be essentially be their assessment with an annual increase percentage as stipulated by Albany, rather than having the county assessment department assess the value of the properties on fair market value. So you're, wild example, they sell somebody a house for $150,000 and it's 3-bed, 1.5 bath, and that would assess for $200,000 in the village of Trumansburg. That house will be assessed at the 150. In order for that to occur, Tompkins County has to have opted into this feature, which they did 3 years ago, and then the smaller municipality has to also opt in. So in the Dropbox is a draft proposed local law which would accomplish that, if this board is so interested.
How narrowly defined is this? I mean, this would account for all affordable housing, right? I mean, assuming they meet those.
So assuming they meet the New York State definition of a housing trust,
Which includes, I think.
it would depend on how they structure the sale of the property. Yeah.
So part of what convinced me to be in favor of this was the way you described it is, you're not purchasing the land. You never own the land when you buy one of these houses, because the land is in a trust, so you're only buying the house, which is what keeps the price down. And so then when you're selling, you're also only selling the house, you're never selling the land. So to be appraised as if you owned the land and had all the rights that you would have for the land. So you don't ever have those rights, you don't actually own the land. So it's just, to me, it's kind of like a correction, like you're only actually buying the house, not somebody else's land.
Yeah, that's the machinations in which Albany came up with this way to create a way to targetedly assess different properties differently without being accused of anything else. So yes, any organization which qualifies as a housing trust, which also properly places a home in said trust, could then apply to the assessment department, which they have to do annually, to have those properties assessed in this manner rather than the normal manner.
Are there others? Are there other local organizations?
Well, there used to be better housing companies. Habitat is the biggest one. There is one, there's one somewhere in Broome County, I'm not gonna remember its name. I think there's a whole bunch once you get more things.
And it's specifically not for profits too. It's
Yeah.
not like a,
Serious
Private
Register
entity.
Buffalo's got a bunch of them. So, again, it's entirely up to this board whether or not we want to opt in, but I wanted to be able to respond to Habitat's request. If we do want to opt in, then this is a local law, so it does require a public hearing, we would have to schedule a public hearing date, and so on and so forth. Yeah. We're going to be here on this.
No, I was just gonna say that when, this proposal, when the town considered this, one of the questions that was raised at the time was, because the owner of the house is limited in the amount of profit they can make if they were to sell it, because of this incremental, increase that's allowed. Somebody on our board asked, well, could the person who owned a housing trust home rent it out for like market rate, even if they couldn't sell it for market rate? And the answer came back that no, I mean, they need to occupy the housing. They couldn't just buy a Habitat house as a rental property, you know, live somewhere else and rent it out and make a lot of money on it. That's not how it works. Cross the line, that you ask for the answer.
yeah, my read, I appreciate, and your kind of read on it, and the way it's always been explained to me is similar, though, the little extra twist is that the way these work is you're not allowed to resell it for market value, and therefore kind of taxing someone on a value that they can never by deed and
Resell,
restriction to
yeah.
actually acquire seems a little bit, unfair, basically, right? Like you're taxing them on a value they can't actually ever obtain. So for those reasons, I'm in favor of moving this forward. If the right is the right approach to like a motion to kind of move this to submit this, or
We don't actually need a motion to introduce it. You can do it that way if you want. It's not, there's no objection. I guess if there's an objection, you need to.
fair enough. I'm
I'm all for it. Yeah, I'm all for it.
Anyone, I guess that's the easier way to approach it. Anyone disinterested in moving forward?
Call it introduced and move on with it.
Some confusion around the last paragraph, which is maybe the method. But it says it'll be enacted, memory, but it'll be enacted when the state reviews it, except if something happens. It
Yeah,
seems
that's-
very confusing.
That's on every local law that we have, that last paragraph.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
like
because it goes with the local law filing form, they have to use when it's understood the Department of State.
that. What is that?
yeah.
It means when I send it certified to the Department of State and they receive it, they sign for it,
Yeah.
that's when it actually becomes effective.
Except the second half of that. I mean, not that it matters, because obviously it's there, but that's standard language that I don't, Well, it's the legalese.
It's treating the department as a person who's been served with been served with, the worst thing.
Right.
Served with someone. So it's treating the department as an individual having been served. So if they leave it on the desk for a month, then we can say it's right.
It's fairly baroque language.
It's very sad. I guess it would probably cost somebody $450 an hour to come up with that.
Yeah, sure.
And if you wanted to simplify it, that would be another, at least that much, if not
Twice as long
quadruple.
to simplify it. All right, so then, if there isn't anyone opposed to introducing this, we will introduce this for consideration at our November meeting.
Public hearing.
We will schedule a public hearing for the same meeting, which is the 12th. Will everyone be here? Good.
That's also a Tuesday.
Yes. So Tuesday, November 12th, we will hold a public hearing on this proposed local law number. And we're filling the local law number. We passed the laws in 2019.
We did one, which is vehicle traffic.
Yeah.
I think that's the only one.
We didn't have to do something for LED conversion and that stuff. I can't
So
remember.
we're going to double check that first thing. in the morning.
Absolutely.
I just happened to know the vehicle one, so staring at it
Right.
this week.
The first thing.
So we'll tentatively call this proposed local law 2 of 2019, subject to confirmation. Public hearing to be on November the 12th.
And I think the scads of people that will be at our town with the
It's good to consider, though, that's important.
Hopefully we'll have seats available.
But a live stream.
We could run a shuttle.
Your first.
Shuttle.
Next item under old business then is another draft local law for consideration, which is amendments to our vehicle and traffic law. That is also in the Dropbox. The items, and if I miss any, the items for adjustment are the addition, properly the addition of a stop sign at the intersections of Cemetery and Falls Road. This would be on the village side of Cemetery Road headed towards Main Street. The infamous stop sign that was recently removed because it didn't exist in this law. We are now adding to the law so that we can properly place the stop sign. We also will be moving the 15-minute parking loading zone area from in front of Garrett's down towards word of mouth, so as to not block that bad corner any further.
It's also not even really a space anymore with that bump out.
It's
It's, basically been removed.
one of the ill-conceived features of the Main Street project was that that bump out somehow served as a truck accessible mound on which trucks could drive. And that was
What?
the idea.
Yeah, that's,
That
There's
was-
always a car
that's,
there.
it's
You can drive right
structurally
over the
built
car.
for that,
It's structurally, actually, it is built to sustain the weight of a truck.
for music,
Trucks just won't do that.
like musical instruments and stuff going in and out.
Ah.
That
The
was the
signage
purpose.
required to get a truck up on the curb would be big. Never heard the term truck accessible.
Until now. So that loading zone will be
That's
measured.
glorious.
Yeah.
You should change the adopted plan.
Word of mouth. And,
Truck accessible.
and at the same time, as that project, I believe it was the same time as the Main Street project, the loading zone which previously existed right in front of this building, a few steps down, the signage was removed so that it would not be considered so that it could be regular parking, but it was never removed from the law. So we have a
Loading zone.
we have a loading zone, which no one knows about in front of this building. So what this law proposes to do is move it across the street in front of the liquor store and Hazelnut. Take the first two spots, make them 15-minute parking loading zones, which does two things. One is it gives a proper place for delivery trucks to park instead of double parking on Main Street or taking a left onto Elm and randomly stopping. It also, there's been a request from both Little Venice and the liquor store for some time to have something there that would allow people who are stopping to pick up to go orders of food or whatnot, be able to park and over and out instead of parking further away. So it would accomplish both of those things. It would give delivery trucks a place to be, and it would give people a place to stop and run in and out. I have spoken to the owners of both of those establishments. They're very happy with the idea. They're very happy with being able to get trucks away from a double park situation. And so I thought we could see how, like everything else that we do when traffic along the city, see if it works.
And also, kind of opens, I mean, it must be, I'm not pulling out of that driveway.
Yes.
It opens up the wrong side, I guess it doesn't open the front, but it opens it up a little bit. Yeah, some gear issues.
That is a terrible driveway to go over.
Well, no, that is part of it, but I don't know that
I have talked to Chief Nelson about this. He has not wanted to enforce the unenforceable. So that truck, I think it's a Cisco truck. It's not the driver's fault really, but it is at the same time, when it takes a left on Allen and stops. He hasn't wanted to necessarily badger the driver. Just go where they go. With this in place, he thinks it will definitely help create an area where the deliveries should properly be accessing. So, no, is there anything else that I?
No, those are the two.
So there's no battery, so.
It will become a badger zone once.
There will be battery, unofficial battery, yes. Well, I'll be interested to see what the response is, because I have so little parking.
Yeah.
I mean, it will be like two parking spaces, kind of look like a landing strip.
And people are gonna pull in it, and I think, especially, the other thing that we don't seem to have a whole lot is a lot of people that come up, they wanna offload the people that they have with them and then go park, and there's no place to do that either. So that's a good other use of it.
Yeah, I think communication of the change will be very important. I think chief and the officers will. I'm sure they won't be waiting the tickets in hand, ready to, the first person is there for 16 minutes instead of 15, so that'll be part of it. Signage will, of course, be important. I have already, like I said, talked to Little Venice primarily because they get the most large truck deliveries. They'll have to really inform their drivers where to stop. So. But I think long term it could be very useful.
Yeah, maybe you could, run out there.
So,
Absolutely.
so based on that, can we get like parking marked in our parking lot out here?
We did along the front.
I mean, because this is the default parking. If you can't park there and you wanna go there, you come into this parking lot and park. And it would be better to have marked spaces for people to at least aim for than the way they do.
I thought it wasn't actually our parking.
It's not. I don't recall what the agreement with the church is in terms of striping. I don't think they would have any opposition to it. We can check
Because
it.
we're supposed to, we take care of that.
We'll go before we check it. They wouldn't have any objection to
I saw the striping across the street and it makes a huge amount of difference.
Yeah, I
I'm sure they
think so
can
too.
get them back in there more regularly.
From the town perspective, since we also no longer have access to that now recently striped lot, people in the town don't know, even though there's a sign that says no park here. It's the only doing this into the reciprocity we used to have, where we applied a lot in exchange for allowing town residents to park along the side of the road. So we, doing our signage too, but since this is a public lot during the day, town, there is, people who have business with the town hall would probably use this lot, and I think everybody could just use it better, right?
Sure. That's fine.
You already, the people in the town already do that. If you go on any court night or anything,
Yeah.
they're
Oh, no,
always
they're
parked
using-
over here.
But you're right, I think it just makes it more efficient use of
Right.
it. It is striking, there's no objection.
Okay, so is there any, we'll do the same thing we did with the last one. Is there anyone who doesn't want to see this law introduced for consideration? So then if not, we'll tentatively call this draft local law 3. Pending confirmation. And we will schedule a public hearing for our November 12th meeting.
And so we'll want to coordinate, if we move forward on November, Nancy, we'll want to coordinate with your town highway department to get the stop sign in, the stop sign part of that.
Right, I mean, we've already, at our last meeting, we did pass a resolution urging you to take the action you're proposing to take, so.
Yeah.
We can, I mean, I think,
I think that's all fine, I just wanted to kind of reiterate it.
so that's happening with Shadow, and pretty much everything. The superintendents will talk to each other.
Sure, yeah.
But, thank you.
Okay. So we have 2 public hearings on our November 12th meeting. Any other old business? Okay. Item number 10 is new business. So speaking of Cemetery Road, we have a resolution in the Dropbox, which clarifies for the record ownership and responsibility of different sections of Cemetery Road.
I'd just like to know why it wasn't done the other way, where we got the top half and they got the bottom half.
Don't know. I mean, yeah,
It's
I
just-
guess I don't know who comes up with the delineation of who maintains what, because that's what we're kind of playing off of.
This is village line goes like
Right
the other
between-
side of the entrance house. So we own, I mean, the village boundary encompasses most of Cemetery Road down there.
That's true, yeah.
So like,
Once-
there's-
once it-
Where is the
we share.
village line there?
I mean, like the Yetcher's house is in the village. So I'm not exactly sure where that goes as far as the cemetery. I think cemetery turns through that kind of. the village.
Yeah, once
Straight.
it curves,
There's a weird jog there because the road curves, but the boundary line doesn't.
right, so
And they
You
have
can kinda
funny
see it
stories
here,
about like village water
once it comes in here.
But I,
kind of comes down, it's definitely
yeah,
inside.
I have no objection
Yeah.
either way, because we're gonna, I'm
Stop.
assuming that at some point we will all be ours anyway. So,
the village line does.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point is, the whole road is in the village, mostly.
I mean,
Especially, yeah.
So unless there's a strenuous objection somewhere, I would entertain a motion to adopt this resolution clarifying where the existing boundaries are.
So moved.
Second.
Any additional discussion? If not, then all in favor, please say aye. Opposed, abstentions.
Can you send a copy of that to us if we're further clarification? I know I was just mad at looking for it, but we would just, it's taken us way longer than we wanted to update our official town road map, which designates town roads, so we just want to make sure they're all.
Yeah. This is pretty much the inverse of the resolution that you all passed, but I'll send it out.
Second item under new business is, we had a discussion several months ago about a way to better enforce the requirements that residents, property owners, both residential and commercial, not tie in anything other than sanitary sewer into the sanitary sewer, which has been in existence since our sewer ordinance. Sewer ordinance was adopted in 1967. And asking our attorney about a better method or a way to introduce enforcement of something that is that long-standing, he said, "Wow, I can't believe you still have a sewer ordinance." Ordinances were done away with in 1972, and made any amendments since 1967. So he strongly suggested, because some of the language of the sewer ordinance is actually not enforceable anymore due to all kinds of EPA-related laws that have since come along, he suggested that it be completely rewritten and that it would be more cost-effective to have MRB or some other engineering firm rewrite it and his rate to rewrite. So I had MRB submit a proposal, which is in the Dropbox. What the proposal would be to fully amend and or rewrite our sewer use law. They have recently done this for several other municipalities, so there would be, their work actually would be fairly streamlined, I think. But then in doing this, we would also be able to discuss how we want to begin enforcing some of those provisions. Their proposal came back with a fee not to exceed $7,800. They would be charging hourly on a not to exceed basis, with that number being the cap. And that would come out of the sewer budget. So this proposal, because of the dollar amount, would need board approval to accept if we so choose.
I move that we accept the proposal. I think that this paid for itself just by upping some of these $2 and $5 fees from 1967.
So we have a
But
motion.
I don't think we're gonna charge any.
Yeah, second. Discussion.
That's unfair. And it seems like a no-brainer to me. The only thing that I just want to point out is that the MRB contract is, it says do not exceed, but it also in two different places says this is just an estimate. An estimate is not meaningful. We sort of tried our best.
However, this is a written document, it's not an engineering document, and I would never let them go over this.
Right. And that doesn't mean if they don't go over, we don't get anything.
Well,
And like where I'm in business stream, I just want to point it out because a couple of years ago we had a conversation with MRB where we just want to make sure that that conversation is still.
Yeah, I mean, RFPs usually have this language with it.
Oh yeah, I mean, basically it's in every contract.
Yeah. As for sharpening the pencil, if you want me to, we can.
I'm not saying refresh the memory, I'm just
you know, it wasn't that long ago, right? When you talked with Bill.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I did was run the numbers and that, based on what I thought the rate should be every hour, and it's like 50 hours to write it.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's,
It would be 30,
Overwhelming.
I did the same thing, it'd be something like 25 hours of guys' time. So it's not a bad number, but no, I don't disagree, I think we want to make sure that we're getting. And we could always put it out to bid. Would be the other option. But in terms of,
In this, in general, I only bring it up just as an issue with having not with this contract. I mean, this sounds solid, and especially I didn't realize they've done it for another municipality recently. I mean,
we've done quite a few recently.
yeah, that's not.
I think you mentioned it. Maybe that was in the email.
I didn't see it.
You know, you wouldn't call it an email. Any other discussion on this proposal? Okay, then hearing none, all in favor of accepting this proposal for the sewer law revision and update, please say aye. Opposed, abstentions.
who's the second? Tammy, I'd like us to go over.
Okay.
Mhm. When it's talking about like the number of minutes and for how many you count for each of the different facilities to make sure that we're doing it
Sure.
correctly.
Any other new business? Can you make it to the agenda? Okay, item number 11, that
I'm
is
sorry.
approval of abstracts. I did check and Vicky's flight to it is not on here.
Perfect, that's all the benefit you get.
Vicky, do you have the soul and warranty? You have that?
What do you mean?
We have a warranty.
Yes.
Do you have a copy of it?
You'll split the Italian vacation on a sewer fund trip.
Yeah.
I just noticed that there's zero guarantees in that.
There are, because, and I talked to them, that part they considered regular wear and tear on the things, not,
That's the
yes,
exception.
yes. I have spoken to them, because, one of the paramedics was concerned about it too, and he also called them. And, sorry.
Maybe I won't be with her.
It's just regular wear and tear, and that's what they consider.
So we have the general fund abstract in the amount of $215,595.33. Move that we move that general.
Second.
Motion and second. Any questions, discussion?
Jamie, I assume you and Morgan split your mileage with sewer fund for water fund.
Yes.
I was wondering if you managed to drive past as far as.
She took full advantage.
They do.
Any other discussion on the general fund abstract?
No,
If not, then all in favor, please say aye.
aye.
Opposed, abstentions. We have an EMS billing abstract in the amount of $23,643.76.
We'll do approve that.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? No, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. The water fund abstract, in the amount of $23,095.45.
Move that we approve that water fund abstract.
I'll second that.
Start with Greg Cabby as Cabby Joe.
Any discussion on the water fund abstract?
You can, but I'm going to think I'm in trouble every second. No.
Any additional discussion on the water fund abstract? Other than the name, all in favor, passing the water fund or paying the water fund abstract, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We have a sewer fund abstract amount on the list. $25,562.37.
I'll second it.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Not all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. And last but not least is trust and agency. The abstract in the amount of $73,167.44.
I move that we pay this abstract.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. Okay, item number 12 is our second public comment period, and I see no one from the public. Please review anything last minute or additional.
The only thing I wanted to say was thank you for agreeing with the MOU. The numbers that Ben reviewed with you are the numbers that we included in our town budget for the summer rec. And we look forward to continuing to collaborate with you as we make this transition.
Excellent. And thank you for all of your hard work on it. I'll just wait for a copy that doesn't have a lot of strike throughs in different colors, and then I can sign it.
Okay, great.
Then item number 13 is executive session. I would entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss EMS personnel and legal.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good night.
Aye.